This is one of the most sought out questions on the internet today. How to find your purpose. What majority fail to understand is all your vices is a consequence of the absence of purpose. When was the last time Elon struggled to stop himself from logging on a website or jerking off all day? It's highly improbable because the man is a purpose driven guy. He has zero time for hedonistic means. You might sit down there and self-diagnose as depressed or addicted, affiliate your problems with some kind of drugs in order to keep you sane. But the fruit of the matter is you are purposelessness. You are purposeless. You have nothing to do. You have nothing to look up to. You have nothing to expect. As a consequence, you use external means for the purpose of gratification. I was so focused on building my empire that I completely neglected this conversation, completely forgot about this subject. Until very recently, a buddy of mine, I wouldn't call him a friend, but an acquaintance, he raised up this subject of purpose. In his own words, we are talking about something. I forgot how it's related to this subject on purpose, and he intelligently highlighted that the richest place on earth is not the gold mine, is not the oil wells in the Middle East, is the graveyard. Dreams that were never fulfilled, books never written, innovations that never came to fruition. The cemetery. It dawned upon me that majority still struggle with purpose. In fact, at the end of that discourse, he so much advertised his level of ignorance that compelled me to create this video. So that friend is whom you guys owe all your thanks and all the value derived from this video. Before we move on, note this. Humans are purpose-driven beings as well as moral beings. You might want to write that down. Humans are moral beings as well as purpose-driven beings. The first part, moral beings. We live by unwritten rules. If if you murder someone today, I don't care what kind of rule or judicial system is put into place that would ever justify the killing of another human being. Once the court bullshit is over and you're finally vindicated, part of you will go, I murdered someone. Well, it was out of self-defense. No, no, no. I took someone from the face of the planet. This has nothing to do with stoicism or being mentally fortitude. It's kind of, it will haunt you because you're a moral being. There are things you can distinguish right from wrong. The second aspect, which is the emphasis of tonight's discourse, is purpose-driven beings. Humans are not designed to operate in confusion indefinitely. If you see a guy who's 30, who hasn't got his life together, still living in his mom's basement, unemployed, fat, obese, that life is defined to society as a failure. In fact, that's not the kind of person you want to be. You might not be able to articulate it as well as mine or give words to that feeling, intuitively you desire to be any other thing than that individual. This has nothing to do with wealth or riches. It has very little to do with those two virtues. If you see a guy moving from point A to point B, or if you see a person moving in circles, first you won't notice, but over time, if you're nice, excuse me, sir, are you lost? Because that sight is an anomaly. Conversely, if you see an animal, say like a dog, moving in circles, you don't give a shit. You don't even notice, let alone attempt to help. So humans were not designed to operate indefinitely in confusion, which leads to the next point. Why majority associates with all kinds of vices. Like I said, this purpose would try to find expression in your life. Purpose would always try to find expression. Unfortunately, in the age of technology where hedonism is instantly available, hedonism is easily gotten. That's why most men have no idea why they want multiple partners or why they chase women. Yes, it's rooted in our biology to seek out multiple partners, but more than that, people have converted that activity to their purpose. That's why once you get the lady, you're done. Don't even text her back, you're done. On to the next one. Chasing women by that logic has become your purpose. Same with addiction. As long as you reserve a portion of your day for that said activity, it's now your purpose. What is purpose? Purpose is an activity you look up to, an activity that gets you out of bed. For some people, their addiction section is the best part of their day. Purpose, a positive purpose is what we are supposed to derive that kind of joy from. Unfortunately, you're getting the same feeling but from a wrong outlet. Let's define purpose. Purpose, coupled with the first definition, which is something you get excited about, something that gets you out of bed, something you desire to do. Purpose is your God-given assignment, what you were put on the face of the earth to accomplish. You might not believe this. You might not believe there is a space for you on earth. You might not believe that you can actually achieve something. You might not believe that it's possible for you to get from point A to point B. But truly, it is. It is. So one of the first ways to identify your purpose, and notice my choice of word, is actually deliberate. Identify as opposed to find or discover your purpose. When you use the word find, it makes your purpose external, as though you have to go somewhere in order to discover, or this idea is buried in the ground somewhere and you have to dig in order to find your purpose. But purpose is more internal than external. Purpose is an internal manifestation which leads to the external action or outcome. I've taught it in this channel, in this house, countless times. Every action comes from thoughts. Before you do something, you think about it. Before I created this video, I thought about it. I thought about how many people would derive value from this simple content. I thought about how many text messages of gratitude. I thought about how many people's life will be saved from the clutches of addiction as a consequence of this one video, which led to the production. Purpose. So identifying your purpose, not discovering your purpose. Identification of your purpose, not discovery. When you use the word identify, it zooms your attention internally. It means there is something already there. I just have to identify as well as accept its existence, which leads to the first point, trivialization. One of the reasons most people, why does my body itch? One of the reasons most people do not identify their purpose is because they trivialize. Remember the book, The Widow of Zarephath, whom her husband died and left her with debt. The debtors about to take her two sons. Then she met the prophet Elijah and he asked her a good question that I pose to you today. What do you have in your house? She said nothing except a jar of oil. Not only did that jar of oil save her from her creditors, but she lived off the rest. It's the same question with you. There is something you currently have, be it a talent, be it a skill, a service you can provide at a very unique level, yet you trivialize that gifting while searching for other things. I'm sure the woman thought the prophet would speak to the king on her behalf or speak to the creditors for extension of time or do something logical. But the truth is, the solution to her problem was right in front of her. Many desire riches. Many desire to get to the next level. Many want income. Many, especially this issue of finances. That's why you are in search of purpose currently. And I will teach you. You're trying to identify purpose first to give you the internal fulfillment. Because there's only one fulfillment. There's only a kind of satisfaction that can be derived from purpose. The consciousness your life is counting. The consciousness that every effort you put into today's world, into today's day and age is making a dent, is making a difference somewhere. So one of the major reasons, aside satisfaction and fulfillment, the next reason most people are in pursuit of purpose is for financial reasons. The ability to discover, refine their purpose and commoditize it. That's all. But back to the initial point, which is trivialization. Most people trivialize that which they have because it's insane. It's insane. It has become so common sense to you. The idea that someone else isn't able to do what you do, think the way you think, it's astronomically impossible. For instance, a chef foolishly backs in the assumption, especially at the infancy of his career, that everybody can cook. What? You can't make a tasty meal? When someone comments on your gifting, you trivialize it as though it's nothing. Same thing with intelligent students. You find out at a very young age, you're good in math, you're good in chemistry or physics. As a consequence, in an attempt to either conform to your peers, to avoid being seen as a weird kid, you trivialize that gifting while searching for something else. You shelve that gifting while trying to develop a skill. And there's nothing wrong with that. Remember, that nothing, that exception, in fact, it is, I'm speaking to you now and you have that gifting in your mind. First of all, write it down. You're looking at that stuff and it seems very small, very small. Your thought becomes, how is it possible that understanding physics at an intimate level liberates me financially? I'm sure that's the first thing you think about before fulfillment. Einstein was a physicist. Edison, go down the route of food. David Ramsey, and all of these nice chefs, they made a living. Salt Bay became a billionaire in USD. It's time to stop making excuses. It's time to stop conforming to the peer group. It's time for you to stop looking for security and trying not to be weird or not manifesting out of the fear of ostracism, out of the fear of being cast out of the fear that your uniqueness will cause a divergence, further making you isolated. People would rather give up their dream and keep companionship. I hate to break it to you, but there is a period in every man's life where God, as an act of his mercy, isolates you from the noise, shields you from the public, and begins to build, changing things, evolving, being diligent in that aspect of your gift. Number two, anger. Anger. This sounds counterintuitive. If you look at the book of Moses, according to Bible history, he felt burdened at the affliction of the Israelis. One afternoon, he caught an Egyptian undermining an Israeli, of which he contended with him and smite the Egyptian. The next day, he saw two Israelis in strife, trying to settle the dispute. One said, "Have you come to smite me like the Egyptian?" But that's not the discourse of tonight. The discourse of tonight is the purpose. Like I said, always trying to find expression through your unique talent. For he knew not that the Israelites would be saved by his hand, through God, by God, through him. That was the mantle of a leader, crying for expression. The same thing with me. Whenever I saw people doing degenerate things, whenever I saw people doing stupid things, it's like a cry, a burden in my heart. I always wanted to redefine the philosophy. I always wanted to change the minds of people, to translate them from peasant to king, to change how they view the world, to broaden their horizon, open them up to possibilities beyond their frame of reference. Unfortunately, what most people fail to understand about this anger is, do not try and use the logical way to make these gifts and find expression. For instance, in the case of Moses, he physically assaulted an Egyptian, leading to his death, which is punishable by the Egyptian law, even for a prince. That's why he had to flee the country. That's why you have to stay in that isolation process. Let God work upon your gift, refine your talent, For instance, I understood I'm a teacher and I see things in a different perspective. I see things through different prism. I see things before it sprouts. I take action before it exists. I'm a strategist. I see things. I know things you don't. My concepts are very unique. So one of the ways to optimize this gifting, first to ask God for wisdom. Does anybody lack wisdom? Let him ask. To him that giveth and upbraideth not. So this prayer is available to all men. The second, optimize your communication. Look for more words. Watch my videos back. Figure out different ways to express myself, ensuring that the person at the other end gains as well as profits from whatever comes from my mouth. So it would be stupid at the initial discovery of purpose to stand up and bootstrap to the global stage. No, it's from Samaria to Judea, the utmost part of the earth. Yes, start where you stand. Start where you stand. More tools will be found along the way. Perfection is highly desirable, but nothing man-made is or can be perfect. To wait for perfection is to wait forever. It's in the similitude of a man. I would only make this journey when all the lights are green. What are the chances it's going to make that trip? Single digits, exactly. So, my friends, start where you stand. If you don't stand, if you don't start, those tools would never be found because they are not given at the initial stages of the journey. Somewhere, sorted around, you would find them. So I ask you the same question as the prophet Elijah. What do you have in your house? Don't respond. Do not make the same mistake as a widow to say nothing and go further to trivialize your gifting by preluding the statement with except. That is disgusting and abhorrent. You know it as well as I do. And as always, my friends, it's a pleasure speaking to you. I'll see you in the next one.